Are narcissists demonically possessed? Well, I believe they are. Um, Obviously, I don't have a degree in demonology, and if there is such a thing, I don't know where and if you can get one, but I'm just giving you my opinion. I believe they are, but there's so many inconsistencies when you think about narcissists. That it becomes this kind of like Rubik's Cube to try to figure out and make sense of. Because I know a lot of people say narcissists are created and not born, but then other people have said they do think there is a genetic component as well. So, it seems like they've created a coping mechanism to deal with abuses in their childhood. So it's like, at what point did the demon invade their body? You know what I'm saying? Like, if they created a false self as a coping mechanism, that's one thing, okay, but then they turned to sheer evil and they began doing the same things that they were exposed to. So are they just imitating, a behavior that a parent did to them? Are these complex behavioral patterns some kind of imitation of something they've seen from their caregivers? Or did a kind of demonic spirit enter their body at some point and just totally take control over them? Because it seems like if you developed a false self because, you just weren't good enough, or you were trying to portray some kind of perfect self in response to your parents' wishes, or to get away from the harm that they were causing, then why did you then subsequently have to have these malicious and malevolent behaviors when that has nothing to do with coping with your parents? You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of all over the place. When people discuss these things, you get bits and pieces, but it's like you're not getting the full picture. It doesn't particularly make sense. And when I think of demonic possession, I would imagine a demon could take hold of your mind and body at any point in time. If who knows if you were exposed to something happened. I tend to feel like pharmaceuticals and things like that actually make your mind very weak and make you more susceptible to demonic energy, because they are of the devil. Those medications are from the devil, and I believe you're much more susceptible to demons when you are not in a clear mind, when your mind is not in its natural state, because you're now vulnerable. It's almost like you're like open to demonic energy because you're not thinking clearly. So you can be tricked easier. You know what I mean? The pharmaceuticals are pure evil. But anyway, in terms of narcissists, for me, there's some kind of disconnect that I'm not grasping, in the process. A coping mechanism is a behavioral pattern in response to your environment. in response to trauma. So if you've developed a kind of false self personality, why then do you have to then go out and be, exhibit these kind of malicious behaviors onto others? Because that has nothing to do with a coping mechanism. It makes sense in terms of, if I hurt you, or if I can be kind of wrapped up into the other person, then I don't have to face myself. But plenty of people are in regular, healthy relationships, boyfriend-girlfriend type relationships, without causing harm. You're still getting the attention. So where do the evil kind of traits come in? Like, what is that a response to when the person that the narcissist is dealing with is not being evil towards them or abusive? So then the coping mechanism, that kind of flies out the window, because they no longer need that. If the person is not, let's say, being abusive towards them like their parent was, per se, so then why do they need a false self? Like, why don't they just drop the coping mechanism when the person that was exhibiting the abusive behaviors is no longer in the picture? You know what I mean? So, like, none of it makes any sense. I mean, it's just kind of like all over the place. If you try to make sense of it, I mean, you're just gonna rack your brain, and you're not gonna really make any sense of it. And from the narcissists that I knew, that they also would give bits and pieces. They never really would speak at length about their childhoods, so I could never really get to any kind of concrete reasoning as to why they are like this. If there's a genetic component, okay, that's one thing. That means they were born with that gene. A coping mechanism is a response to trauma or a behavior. That's a totally different thing. And then demonic possession, again, is another completely different thing. So we have kind of like 3 different components that don't really, they're all kind of separate. You know what I mean? It could be one, it could be the other. It's all over the place. But I believe they are demonically possessed because they don't stop the behavior. They continue the behavior, so it almost seems like a demon has taken hold of their spirit and kind of like took the reins, like took control over their whole spirit, their whole mind, and their whole body. Because even though it seems they're cognizant in making the choice to have these behaviors, they also never stop and live their whole entire life with these behaviors. So there seems to be an element that is outside of their control as well. So, I mean, I don't know. I think we need to just take them to the church and douse them in holy water, and they need like some kind of exorcism to get these demons out of them.